Hello everyone and welcome back to the X-Ring. So I am back after a week of having violations and strikes. If you guys don't know, YouTube is the biggest anti-Second Amendment platform there is out there. I am slowly starting to migrate everything over to Rumble. In 4 years of having the channel, I have never had any violations or strikes, and within a week I got 2 strikes, which turned into a warning, and then I got 2 more, which they compiled into 1. So I'm sitting at 1 strike now. Just so you guys know, from now on YouTube, anywhere on the platform, you cannot show attaching or detaching a suppressor, you cannot show inserting a 30-round magazine, and you can't show any accessory that enhances that platform, that firearm. So hate to tell you that, but that's what's happening. That's why I've been away. So I think we've got a really exciting episode today. What we're going to do is I've got Matt Pierce here. If you guys are not familiar with Matt P, he's a very accomplished shooter at 2022 Gap Grind. You actually finished second with the class up out of 400 shooters.
Yeah, my partner Chris and I, we got second in the classed up division. I don't know how they do it overall because classed up is in a group of its own. But I guess according to point-wise, it would have been second overall. Yeah,
so he was shooting with Chris Simmons, which you guys know, I mean, a very, very accomplished shooter. But I remember the days when I was shooting with Matt when he was just getting started. I mean, that was a long time ago. I've known Matt for a long time. So the reason for this video is you guys know that I did the CZ 457 MTR review. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to build a production rifle for PRS rimfire. I do want to shoot it in the next upcoming match that's that Simmons is putting on. I think it's the Icebreaker at VOD. And I've never shot production division that I recall. Maybe the very first one with the RPR. Did we or didn't we? I don't remember.
The first one I shot was with the CZ.
The Cricket, that's right, the Cricket. And that wouldn't have qualified because we changed the chassis out. But on this CZ 457 MTR, it has been upgraded with parts that still make it under that $1,500 price point, but also make it compliant. You cannot change the trigger, you can't change the chassis. So with the help of the guys from Area 419, big shout out to Craig over there at Area 419 and John. Those guys have been super, super nice. What we did is we upgraded the bolt knob to give us a little more purchase on the bolt knob, and then we put the actual Area 419, the 457 mount on there. There is a difference between that and the 455. The ejection port is located a little differently. And then I also added the ARCA Swiss rail from Area 419. Yes, I did drill into this beautiful, beautiful chassis, but I wanted it to be able to do the job well, and I think having the ARCA is going to enable you to do so much more by being able to move your bipod, shoot off a tripod, and everything else. But the reason for the video is Matt had been shooting a factory Vudoo for years. And you actually dropped your rifle off a while ago to have it rebarreled. And so I guess you had Modacam do the work, and you went
24-inch Krieger.
24-inch Krieger, straight 125.
Inch 250 straight with a EC Tuner V2.
All right, nice setup. And I know that thing weighs, what, about 22 pounds?
23.13.
Wow, 23.13.
24.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and see if the juice is worth the squeeze. We're looking at $1,349 for chassis. Optic, this is the Arkin EP5. While it is a lower end optic, it is Chinese made. You have to have something to fall under that $1,500 price point for PRS rimfire production. And so I did put some Vortex precision rings on here, and I've makeshifted a little cheek riser because I really didn't want to drill or tap into this wood. And so what I did was I just put some bands on this, and it helps with getting my eye centered up on this EP5. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out to the range, and we're going to shoot 2 10-shot groups at 50 yards as well as 100 yards. Now, guys, that's about as good as it's going to get. I mean, that's full custom chamber for the Center-X. And all total, what are we looking at there? Is that close to $7 grand?
I'd say so. 6,500 all in all.
Yeah, and the whole point of this video is to show that if you're wanting to get into precision rimfire, I think you can take something like a production. Is it going to shoot as well as that? Probably not. And ultimately, you guys know that it is going to come down to the ammunition. It's always going to come down to the ammunition lot test, but we have a lot of different lots of Center-X. I know you have a hand-picked one that His SDs usually stay somewhere around 3s or something like that, 3 to 4. And most of my Center-X ammo is somewhere between 6 and 8. So we're going to try some different stuff. We'll see how it groups, and I'm sure it'll shoot better. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know how much better, and is that better actually worth it? And I also want to get some of Matt's thoughts about this tuner, so stick around. All right, so Matt's at 50 yards. He's cleaned the carbon ring out of his rifle because at 100 yards, he had developed a little bit of a carbon ring and he was getting a jump. So he's going to do...
Back at 50?
At 50 yards, he's going to do a group there. And we are good to go.
You said bottom set there?
Yep. All right, so fun day shooting at the range. We went through a lot of different ammunition and kind of saw, you know, exactly what we were dealing with. You guys got to see that. Now today's conditions are optimal. It's like 47 degrees, there's no wind. I mean, it might be 1 mile an hour, but
toward the tail end of the day.
Towards the tail end of the day, it started coming up a little bit, but right now it's actually dead calm. Do you think, and this is going to be, I don't want you to get in trouble with anybody or anything. Do you think, because I remember how your factory Vudoo shot, do you think based on, you know, using that same lot of ammo and everything else, do you think it is shooting better or worse than your factory rifle when you had it before? And that was an 18-inch Kukri, no, or MTU?
MTU.
Okay.
MTU. Today, no. Absolutely not.
Today, no.
I don't really have the answer for that. We checked some velocities. My velocities are a little different on this 24, but the ammo's the same. So
it's about 40 feet per second lower.
If 52 actually.
52 exactly.
52 lower.
See, he knows all the little things.
Yeah, today no. Maybe at best 2/10.
Worse?
Well, 2/10 better than what the factory CZ ran.
Oh yeah. No, I know it did better than the CZ.
But marginally, not by much.
Okay, what are your thoughts? Because I know this is your first tuner. And guys, I know this is going to be a really tough one because all the stuff that's out there with Litz and his publications on the tuners. Now, I do own one rifle that is built by Desert Precision Gunworks. Big shout out to Kenny. You know, we didn't know, we were on the fence about it. And I know Rick with Is Your Six Covered bought a tuner, and I hear all the stuff about tuner, and guys either swear by them or guys hate them. I'm on the fence of, I can tell you from now on, I will not put a tuner on any other rifle. From now on, it's just going to be a straight 11-degree crown, cut off. It'll be, that's it, it's done. What are your thoughts on the tuner? You've been chasing it.
Well, I just started chasing it. I've been doing it for about a couple weeks now. The best group that I have been able to get out of this gun with that tuner was a .367.
At 100.
At 100.
Yep.
Well, 98.7 yards. Today we ran 101 roughly.
101 yards.
Not a huge difference. But I ran the tuner back to 0, shot a group, did not shoot the same 0 setting group that this gun shot previously, ran it back to my number that shot that .367, and it did not do a .367.
So one of the things that I've been saying is that these tuners are not repeatable. Now, with that being said, I think a lot needs to be discussed with regards to guys going with these 125 and 120 diameter barrels. You have to have harmonics for a tuner to work. And with us going with these super heavyweight, these big contour barrels,
it's an inch 250 straight.
It's inch 250 straight. So do we really think that moving a tuner that little bit on the end from, let's say, your 0 to your 5 setting is going to influence it that much? Because the harmonics are kind of dampened through all of that steel. If we had, you know, a little thin pencil weight barrel, that's where I've seen some significant improvements. But once again, you went out a week ago, you shot a .36, 100 yards, conditions about the same, maybe a little bit warmer by about 8 degrees or so.
Yep.
But then today you go back to that same number after moving it. And one of the things that I say is, if you get a tuner, find a number, leave it alone, don't touch it again. I don't go back to a, let's say if it shoots at a 5, don't go to a 7 and then think you're going to come back to the 5 and it's going to do the same thing that you saw a moment ago. What I've seen is it's not repeatable. And I think Litz is also saying the same thing. And I know now, knowing you and your personality, you're kind of second guessing that, aren't you?
I mean, slightly. I still think I have a lot more tuning and playing with the tuner to maybe fine-tune some things. I just don't have all the ammo in the world.
But how can you fine-tune something that's not repeatable, Matt?
I'm looking to find a setting where it shrinks the group down like it did.
Yep.
And then I can rotate it maybe 4, 5 numbers and it not change much.
Got it.
That's what I'm looking for. I don't know if that's there or not yet.
Just find an optimal setting that kind of works across the board.
Could be. But I could also maybe find a good number where it's shooting 1/2 inch, no problem, and just leave it alone.
Yeah, and the other thing too is guys, don't do a 5-shot or a 3-shot group. You're really going to do yourself a disservice. I mean, I can print 5-shot groups all day long that are going to show, or if I cherry pick, which a lot of people are doing, and they're saying their rifle's shooting .3s and .4s at 100 yards, do 10-shot groups and then show me the results. Do your average that way. Because a typical PRS stage is going to be 8 to 12, maybe 8 to 15, 8 to something shots.
Typically 10.
But as a rule, it's 10. So if you can show me an average over 10 shots, because I know you had a couple shots or groups that were probably .3s, but but there was that one round that it threw way out to make it, you know, a .9 or whatever. And so I think that's a real comparison of how your rifle shoots, because whether it's the first shot or whether it's the last, if you have a 10-shot string, if it's throwing that one round out, now that's probably ammunition.
There's so many variables with this 22 versus center fire that I'm opening my eyes up to. Just a lot of variables.
Yeah, but ultimately that's your lot. That's what you're going to be shooting the match with. It's what you've got, so you need to show that in a 10-shot group if you're shooting a 10-shot string. You know, I mean, I could cherry pick some groups and show .1s and .2s all day long, but that's not going to be fair if I'm cherry picking. So you guys got to see it as we did it for those two 10-shot groups. And they weren't the best. And the CZ was just marginally worse. It wasn't a ton worse. So I think that's what we're at with it. So what's your evaluation on production gun versus open gun? We know that the pros are going to be you can fit it to your body ergonomically.
100%. That MTR shoots. It's a shooter.
Yeah, but across the board, a lot of people say that the MTR shoot. You know, it does shoot well. It definitely shoots better than the RPR I've ever owned. Does it outshoot my open guns? No, it doesn't. It's close. And then some of you guys are going to say, well, it's because the ammo. You need to try different lots. Guys, we've tried a ton of different lots. A ton. Everything from, you know, SK to Center-X with multiple lots to Ely. I've got a ton of Ely. And yeah, you definitely want to fine tune it for the best group. There were some groups that were horrible. You saw some of the SK that went through here and it was bad. It was like, what? That was 2.5 inch? 2.5? Yeah, so it's all about the lot testing, and sometimes you're at the mercy of what you can get your hands on. But in the end, is the juice worth the squeeze for an open gun? $7 grand as opposed to $1,500 setup?
The easy answer would be no, but it depends on what you want to shoot. If you want to stick to production, stick to production. If you want to go to open, go to open.
Okay, with that being said, do you think I could be competitive shooting this in production division overall?
Absolutely. I would think so.
Okay,
based off of what I saw today.
So what I'm going to do is the next match is February the 11th. It's a Chris Simmons match. It's going to be at VOD. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot production division for the first time and hopefully try to take this CZ MTR and maybe finish in the top 10. I don't know if that's realistic or if it's even possible.
Mop the floor with everybody?
No, it's not going to do that, but what I want to show is you're only going to get what you put into it with regards to training. It's going to be all your positional training, knowing your rifle, knowing your cold bore, but I don't think you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, $5,000 to $7,000, to be competitive in PRS rimfire or NRL 22X.
I think it's two big things. The knucklehead behind the gun.
Of course. It's always the Indian, not the arrow.
And then second, hands down, would be ammunition.
Yeah. So as a rule, what I've always said is you need to find a lot of ammo that at 100 yards, you can hold 1 inch with your 22. If you're not holding an inch with it, you'll still be competitive, but you're not going to be at that top level, I don't think. Yeah, if you can shoot a .5 or .4, great. You know, all the better. But I think ultimately that's going to come down to the shooter shooting off of a barricade, whether or not he or she can or can't hold a minute, because that's going to be the issue. And then, of course, wind reading. That's going to be a big thing, especially when you get at these further distances, is knowing your wind. But I think it was a great review of looking and comparing a production rifle to an open class rifle. Marginal gains. You know, it's like when you get into that race car, once you get the bulk of it, now to get just that slightest little edge costs you significantly more money. So that's something to think about. So I hope you guys enjoyed that review of open gun versus production gun, regardless who the builder is. And, you know, like I said, I'm just a talentless YouTuber, so that's all we're going to say about that. You guys have a good one. Like, share, subscribe, and check out the X-Ring over at Rumble. Have a good one.
Rumble.